New audio released by renowned journalist Bob Woodward reveals more about President Trump's early recognition of the severity of the coronavirus. The clip comes from April, from one of the 18 interviews that Woodward conducted with the president for his book Rage, published by Simon & Schuster, which happens to be a division of Viacom CBS. Take a listen to the clip.
And Bob, it's so easily transmissible, you wouldn't even believe it.
I know.
I mean, you can be in the room. I was in the White House a couple of days ago, a meeting of 10 people in the Oval Office, and a guy sneezed innocently, not a horrible,
Yes.
just a sneeze. The entire room bailed out, okay, including me, by the way.
Very recognizable image there. Woodward also asked the president to grade his coronavirus response, and the president said, quote, "I give ourselves an A, but the grade is incomplete, and I'll tell you why. If we come up with the vaccines and the therapeutics, then I give myself an A+. This comes, of course, as the death toll in the U.S. approaches 200,000, by far the highest of any country on earth. Bob Woodward joins us now from Washington. Bob, good morning to you. Congratulations on Publication Day. You've gotten to the finish line. And I can inform you that President Trump has just pronounced your book on Fox News boring. So you have a quote maybe for the paperback. We have a lot to get to. I want to begin with that grade that the president gave himself, an A, moving up to an A+. He says nothing more could have been done. From your reporting, from your research, do you agree? And what grade would you give the president?
Well, I don't think I should give grades, but I can report at the end of January, it was laid out to him in great detail that a pandemic was coming and that it was equivalent to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic in this country 100 years ago that killed 675,000, and it was laid out to the president why this is the case, that the Deputy National Security Advisor in the White House, Matt Pottinger, had sources, medical sources in China, where he had worked for the Wall Street Journal for 7 years, that had, these sources had impeccable credentials and laid out exactly what was coming, and the president knew this. And for instance, a few days later at the State of the Union address, he said, "We're doing everything we can," rather than telling the truth to the American public about what he had been warned about.
Your former reporting partner, Carl Bernstein, of Watergate fame, called these tapes, the tapes tied to your book, graver than those Watergate tapes, referring to the loss of life and the importance for history. Do you agree with that assessment? Is this graver than Watergate?
Well, it's hard to compare.
Well, no one died in Watergate, and 200,000 people have died here.
Yes, and Nixon was a criminal president. And if you look at the chronology that and the information, the authoritative information I was able to get, the president's job. I remember at one point in an interview asking President Trump, "What is that job? How would you define the job?" And he said, "The job is to protect the people." He failed to do that, and he could have. In the initial discussion with him in February, I thought he was talking about the virus in China. I later learned, unfortunately, it took a number of months until May, that he had been told in January about this.
Bob, the president revealed to you that the U.S. has a secret new nuclear weapons system that neither the president of China nor the president of Russia know about. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, I did some reporting afterwards, and some people said there is something, it's in dispute. One of the key experts I talked to said there's no such weapons system. There are lots of things on the drawing boards.
So you don't know whether it actually exists?
I do not, and the president insisted that it did. He's the commander-in-chief. But again, he will say things, as we know, that just don't check out.
You report that the former director of national intelligence, Dan Coates, couldn't shake the belief that President Putin had something on President Trump. Did you come to believe that President Putin does have something?
Yeah, well, you can't know for sure. And Dan Coates, now remember this, under the new reorganization after 9/11, he's the #1 intelligence official in the country. He oversees the CIA, the National Security Agency, and they looked through everything because of President Trump's clear affection and reliance on Putin, and said this just doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. They did not find proof, but for Coates, the suspicion endured.
You know, Bob, you spoke at length with the president about race relations in this country, and he says this: I don't have to be black to understand the black point of view. Now, to me, it's different when you read the words and when you hear the words, because you can get the tone and the inflection. Did you get the sense in your conversations with him that he understands the pain that black people in this country are going through right now?
Well, when I explicitly asked him, said, do you see that anger and pain that black people have? And particularly for somebody like myself, somebody white privilege, somebody like Trump, I said, you know, we've got to get out of our shoes and really understand this. And Trump mocked me. This tape is out. He said, boy, you're really drinking the Kool-Aid, and just listen to you. And he said he did not have that feeling that it was his job to understand somebody else's pain and anger. I know as a reporter, it's my job to try to do that. I would argue passionately it's the president's job.
Yeah, he also says that he doesn't want to create panic, and that's one of the reasons why he didn't, that he wasn't more forthcoming about what he had been told about this virus. But some people say creating panic can be his calling card. You know, Lindsey Graham said that you cannot win, Mr. President, if you go with the law and order strategy that he seems to be mounting right now. And there are ads right now running where he says, you know, America's burning literally, and he's accusing Biden supporters of that. Do you think that the president likes creating chaos, that he likes, you know, at one point in the book, Jared Kushner says that controversy elevates the conversation, that he likes being disruptive?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that really interesting that this whole idea, controversy elevates the message? In other words, when the president says it's the best economy in the world, the best economy that America's ever had, that's not true. It was a good economy before the pandemic, but it was not the best in the 1950s and so forth.
Well, Bob,
it was better.
Bob,
sure.
I want to get this in. Tony just said he's already said your book is boring. He tweeted about that. He's calling you a whack job. He said this was a hit job. The book is fake. Do you think that his words on social media are more important than the facts that you say you're telling in the book?
Well, you know, I was thinking about this last night, and what am I trying to say in this book? I am trying to say to people, this is what I found. I know lots of Trump supporters, business people, financial advisors, workers, military, law enforcement. I'm not saying you have to see it as I saw it.
Yeah.
People are going to see it in a very different way. And I read a column this morning, I'm sorry, but I think this is important. Somebody said, well, if you don't look at it the way they look at it,
Mr. Woodward, I'm
you're
sorry,
not decent.
We're going to be taken off by the computer. Thank you for joining us. Rage is on sale today. We'll be right back. I apologize.
Okay.
We're getting the computer wave off here.